So today we're going to do the handover video on the Burstner Lyseo TD590. We're going to start on the outside and then we're going to move on to the inside. So firstly, coming over to the passenger side, you'll notice that you've got your fill-up points, which are just underneath this cap here. You've got your diesel fill-up point at the top, and then just below that you've got your AdBlue system there. Your AdBlue is all topped up from factory, so you don't need to worry about that. And when that is running out, you will get a warning symbol on the dash. Opening up the passenger door, you'll notice on this side of the vehicle you have your bonnet release catch, and also whilst I am on this side, you have got on this vehicle Remis cab blinds fitted. You've got them fitted to this window here, the same again on the other side, and also at the front here. To operate these, all you need to do is simply pinch and pull out like so. What I typically find is a lot easier if you lead the blinds from the bottom, as you can then connect them up to the magnetic strip on the side to then lead them, and then you can black out the cab. As I mentioned, you've got them on this side and the other side, and when you are retracting them, again, pinch the clip like so and then pull back. If you lead from the bottom, that'll make sure that nothing gets caught or tangled, as these are quite delicate and can twist, so do bear that in mind. And as a rule of thumb with anything in a motorhome, is if it feels like it's being forced, you are doing something wrong, so do take care and just assess if anything gets stuck. The same again for the front as well. Just pinch this clip, that'll release the blinds, and you can simply pull forward. As I mentioned, these are all on a magnetic strip, which will then connect once they are closed together. Moving on from the passenger side, underneath the bonnet, I'm going to lift this area now. In all honesty, there's not many things that you need to know underneath here. The main things are if you ever need to jump start the vehicle. I'll open the bonnet now and indicate where they are now. With the bonnet open and lifted, you can see that your negative point for jump starting the vehicle is onto here. And then for your positive, underneath this cap here, which thanks to a little positive sign on the top, will indicate where your positive connects to. Flip the cap up and then you can simply connect onto there. As I mentioned, they're the main things that you need to know, but just to point out a couple more things. You've got your engine oil and your dipstick, which is just below that. You've then got your brake disc fluid, which is up here, your engine coolant, your power steering fluid, which is next to that, and then finally the washer fluid, which is just down in there. Coming away from the bonnet, going onto your habitation side, you'll notice that you've got a storage locker, which is just below here. I'll open that up for you now. And with that open, you can see that you've got access underneath your bench. Moving across, you've then got your habitation door here, along with the awning just above that. You'll also notice that you've got your fridge vents either side of this vehicle, either side rather. One thing to mention about the fridge, I will go into greater detail on the inside on how to operate this. However, this is where the fridge pulls its air from to cool the fridge. With that in mind, obviously if it is a hot day and you have got the sun beating down on this side of the vehicle, do try and keep this area in shade, because that'll just help the vents obviously pull through cool air, allowing it to cool the fridge and work more efficiently. Moving on from the fridge vents, moving on now to the gas point. You can see this is your external gas point. I'll move on to more about how to operate your gas as we walk around the vehicle. What you need to do is obviously connect your pipe up to operate your gas barbecue rather. Turn this valve and that'll allow the gas to feed through once your gas is turned on at the bottle. Do remember to do that. Moving on, you have then also got an external 230 volt socket, which is here. You will need an adapter for this, as the current one is a continental style, with this being a German vehicle. However, once you've got your adapter, that'll be 230 volt out. Next to this, you've then got your ski locker, which is the main bit of storage for the vehicle. On the outside, you'll notice in the door you have got your awning pole. You've then got your ladders up here for your drop down bed, and then obviously some miscellaneous bits, including your book pack and your pigtail and things like that. With these items removed, you'll notice that you have got a hatch here which conceals your cassette toilet. Now your cassette toilet is really simple to use. All you need to do is pull up on this orange lever here and slide out like so. The most important thing that you need to know with this is that the blade on the toilet is closed when removing. If the blade is open, you'll come to remove this and it'll get jammed because it's still in contact with the cassette. If that is the case, you need to obviously leave it, don't force it, go into the vehicle and close that blade. You should always get into the habit of closing the blade. I'll go into more detail on that on the inside. But as I say, to operate this, simply pull up on this tab, fold out the box, and as I say, you can simply slide out the cassette. Whilst it's in here, I will show you how to operate it. On the back, you'll notice that you've got an orange button. This releases a vacuum, which is inside the cassette. When emptying this, you need to twist out the funnel like so, remove the cap just by unscrewing, press this button, and that'll mean all the contents can flow out in one steady slurry. Once you've done that, you can put a bit of water in here and shake it, and then empty it. You then need to slide back this, obviously reattach your cap here, and then you can simply realign this to slide it back. Now, a lot of people do wonder what this orange tab is for. This orange tab makes contact with the blade, as I mentioned before, which allows it to close and open the cassette like so. You don't need to do anything with that, leave that in that position. As I say, that makes contact with the blade, so if you was to turn that and try and slide that back in, it's going to jam. So make sure it's always in the position as you removed it. When it comes to sliding back in, simply push in, let that clip in like there, and it's all nice and secure. With your cap, if you wanted, whilst we're still on the topic of the cassette, if you wanted to put your blue fluid in your toilet, if you've got the blue fluid, that can simply go in the top of the cap. So if you was to unscrew the cap, you can put that in and put it into the cassette. Or if you add toilet sachets, they can simply go straight down the toilet. But before moving on to the other side, as I mentioned, you have got your awning here. This is a Thule awning, and as you can see, there's a little T point in there which the awning pole connects to. Once you've done that, you need to push it up, make connection with the awning, and turn your pole to lock it in. You can then wind out the awning. To operate this, you need to wind it out to a point where you can reach it. You'll then fold the legs out and let it take the weight of the awning, and then you'll simply angle the legs and walk it out. Once you've done that and you come to pack it up, do the exact same, just in reverse. It's dead simple and easy. Moving on to the back, not much to the back, but you can see that you've got your reversing camera here. And then moving back to the other side, notice that you've got your gas locker, along with your convenience locker, and then your chimney and also hook-up point for the vehicle. Firstly, to talk you through your gas, with this open, your gas bottles connecting to here, make sure they're all strapped in, and then you can see that you've got your gas regulator here. As I mentioned, in the locker you have got a pigtail supplied, which will connect onto your gas regulator and feed into your bottle. For your gas bottles, when you are travelling, you need to make sure that they are turned off at the bottle due to safety. But when you are on site, you can turn them, screw that, and allow that gas to feed through the system. You can then use, obviously, appliances on the inside and also that external gas point. Moving on, as I briefly mentioned, you have got your truma vents here. That is your chimney for the vehicle. It does get very hot, this area here, so don't hang anything on it. Do be careful when you are using that. Next, as I mentioned, you've got your convenience locker, which is just located here. Great thing with Burstners is your convenience locker puts all your drain down points and everything in one spot. I'll open that up for you now. With the locker all open, you can see that you've got your fresh water tank, which is here, along with a few drain down points, which I'll talk you through. Your fresh water tank will take 120 litres as indicated by this sticker here. And to fill this up, all you need to do is remove this cap, put your hose pipe in, and let the system fill up. Once it's full, obviously it will spurt back, but you have got, the reason it's this colour is to indicate what level it is at. On the top, to drain this system down, you'll notice that you've got, I can focus that on there we are, a black nib. All you need to do is unscrew that, and that will release the water and drain down the system. Now, the beauty with this is you have got two settings. As indicated by the sticker, you can drain this system down to 20 litres as a quick drain down valve. So for example, if you was moving on to another site and you wanted to keep a bit of water in the system for a cup of tea, The manufacturer recommend that if you are travelling with water, travel with only 20 litres due to weight distribution and payload. So if that is the case, unscrew that and you'll get to a little lug. Once you feel that lug, you need to stop, and as I say, that will drain the entire 120 litres down to just 20. You can then tighten it back up and you're good to go. If you wanted, however, to drain down the entire system, you need to carry on unscrewing past that lug, and that'll drain down the entire thing. This red cap also indicates where you can remove this to give it a wipe out. I personally don't recommend drinking out of this system. However, if you wanted to, you can unscrew this and give it a clean out. Next, you'll then notice that you've got two more drain down points which are just located next to the fresh water tank. You've got the first one is your frost protection valve, and the next one is a drain down point for everything which is beyond the boiler. Your frost protection valve is mainly for your boiler itself, and as indicated by the name, a frost protection valve stops the vehicle from getting any frozen water in its system. So to operate this at the moment, as indicated by the little nib on the top which is popped out, and the blue tab which is popped out on the side, it is open. To close this, all you need to do is simply turn the diamond like so, and then that little blue tab on the side, simply push in and let it clip into place, and as you can see, that has now disappeared into there. That'll then close the system, so when using it, you can do that and then use your boiler. Now when you come to open this, all you need to do is turn that. As you can see, the black nib lifts up and the blue tab comes out. Now if you've not used the vehicle for a while, or it is extremely cold when you are using the vehicle, as this reacts to temperature because it's a frost protection valve, what you will need to do is heat this area up. So the beauty with this system is you can run the heating system without any water. So get in the vehicle, turn the heating on and let that work for 30 minutes or so. From there you can then turn this and push your tab in like so, and that'll connect and seal the system. It's just there as a fail safe, so if it does get below freezing, you will need to do that. Next to this, you've then got another, as I mentioned, another drain down point which is indicated by a little yellow tab. At the moment it's open. In a down position like that, it is closed. That is for everything in the boiler which is beyond the boiler in essence. So this is for the boiler, and then your yellow tab is for everything beyond the boiler to your taps. And again, if I open that up like that, that'll open and drain down that. They're your main drain down points. You've then finally got one more, which again is in the same location, handily enough. If you take this and remove this little black lever here, as indicated by the sticker here, you have got your final drain down point, which is your wastewater. This grey tap connects up to that, and you can see that you have got a little square bracket here. You then need to connect your lever onto this and then turn that, and that will drain down the system. I've nothing in at the moment, however if it was to, that would simply drain out. Now as a rule of thumb with all your drain down points, you can leave them open, because at the end of the day it is just water which is draining outside the vehicle, so it's not containing anything harmful. And what I recommend is leave everything open as you are travelling home, because the vibration of the road is going to get all that water out of the system. Finally, before we move on to the inside of the vehicle, you'll notice that you've got your hookup point which is onto the on this side of the vehicle. So when you are on site and want 230 volt into the van, simply connect that and you can operate and begin on the inside. We're now going to move on to the inside, where I can show you the operations on board. Moving into the vehicle, where it's a little bit drier and warmer, you'll see as you walk in through your habitation door, on the left side of you, you have got your control panel. You've got a control panel for your heating and then a control panel for your electrics. So, regarding this, if I click this button, that is your master switch, and you can see that all your lights in the vehicle have turned off. The only lights that remain are these porch lights, which are on here and also in your door, which can be turned off using this button here. To turn back on, simply click your button like so, and as you can see, that activates everything. At the top, you've then got your habitation battery level, which will show your level there, and then your vehicle battery is just below that, which again indicates there. On the opposite side, you've then got your freshwater tank level, got a little bit in the system at the moment, and then your wastewater. If I click that, as you can see, nothing's coming up because I've no water in the system, but again, that'll just indicate when you do on that panel there. Finally, on this panel, you have then got a button here which activates your pump. Now, for your pump, only obviously run the pump and use the pump when you are when you've got water in the system. And when in use, you need to then fill up the system full of water, click your pump on, and then go to your taps. Go to every single tap, including your shower, and then what you need to do is turn the tap on and turn it to hot. What that's going to do is it's going to pull water from the fresh water tank into the boiler and then out of your tap. It'll splurt and splutter, and then once it's running steadily, you prime your system for your hot water. The reason I tell you to do it on the hot water first is, as I mentioned, it's going to pull it through the boiler system, which is therefore going to prime that boiler, and then when it comes out your tap, it's going to prime that system as well. Once you've done that for hot, turn it to cold, do the exact same. And as I mentioned, you need to do the same for this as you would on your shower and things like that. That'll just prime everything. Now, once you've done that and you've got water in the system, you can leave your pump on, because on each of your taps you've got a micro switch which, when turned on, will activate and deactivate your pump when required. The only thing obviously to know is you can only run your pump when you have got water in the system, so do be mindful of that. Now, coming back up to your control panel, that concludes the main controls for the vehicle on the inside. Next to this, you've then got your heating control. If I turn that on, you can see that the screen lights up and is ready to use. Everything below the line is what you want to select, and as you can see, I've got a little button here which, when I turn and hover over the certain options, then blinks. To select, simply push that button in and then scroll through the options like so. Firstly, you've got your vehicle temperature, which you can take up to 30. If I just click back, you've then got your water temperature. You've got the options of Eco, Hot or Boost. Eco is approximately 40 degrees, Hot is approximately 70 degrees, and a Boost in essence concentrates the heating on heating your water. So instead of heating the vehicle itself, it'll concentrate on heating the water. You might want to do that, for example, if it is struggling to get up to temperature, especially if it's a cool day. You've then got your fuel. So the fuel you've got is gas, Mix 1, which is a mixture of gas and 1 kilowatt electric, Mix 2, which is a mixture of gas and 2 kilowatt electric, EL1, which is just 1 kilowatt electric, and EL2, which is 2 kilowatt electric. Now, depending on what you're using the vehicle for, the majority of the time, if you're on site, you'll be running it off EL2. However, obviously, if you are wild camping, you'll need to run it off your gas. Finally, you've then got your vent. Now, because I've not activated anything, you'll notice that it's just giving you your option for vent. However, this is the fan speed, which will in essence blow the heat around the vehicle. Once you have selected the temperature, that will give you the option of high or boost again, depending on what intensity you want that fan to work at. And again, with the option for boost, that'll work the exact same as it did with the just vice versa in essence, as it did with the water. It'll concentrate on heating the van and take the concentration off heating the water. Now, a couple more things underneath here, just sliding through. If I click this, you can set a timer for when you want the heating to kick in. You can then change the time, and then finally, indicated by the little spanner, you have got your settings. Now, in your settings, there's not many things that you need to know. The main thing is this reset button, which is at the back here. Now, the reset button is there to reset the system if ever you get an error code. Now, you'll get an error code, for example, if you was to select the temperature and run it off a fuel that you've not got. So, for example, if you haven't got any gas in the vehicle and you select a temperature and try and run the vehicle off gas, you'll get an error code, because in essence it's trying to power something, it's trying to power the vehicle with something that it's not got. So if that's the case, as I say, you'll get an error code. Once you've done that, once you've got that code rather, you need to go into your settings, click that reset as I've just shown you, click the reset button. That'll then flicker and initialize the screen. You then need to wait 20 minutes for that to fully reset, and then you can reuse it. Obviously, it is a bit of a pain, so just bear that in mind. try and always make sure that you select the right fuel, but it does happen, and that's how you come across it and sort it. Alright, to turn this panel off, all you need to do is hold this button in, like so. It'll then turn off, like so, and you need to do that every time you finish using the vehicle. So now moving on from your control panel, we're moving into the kitchen area. For the kitchen area, you'll notice that you've got your hob, which is up here, and then your oven and grill, which is just below that. Below here you have got a bit of storage, as you can see, and you'll also notice that you've got your trip box, which is just located in here now. I'll just lighten up the screen so you can see that. As shown, is if the vehicle does trip, you need to come to this box, which is just underneath the oven and grill, and you need to flick these switches back up. Now on the RCD breaker itself, there is a little test button, which, for example, if you can't get any power to the vehicle and you want to diagnose that issue, all you need to do is go to this box, click that button, that test button, and if all of these trip switches trip and fall down, you know that you're getting power to the vehicle. So it's therefore not a fault with the sites or the hookup cable that you're using, it's therefore a fault with the vehicle itself. So from there you can then check your fuses, which are underneath your passenger seat. It just helps you diagnose the issue, as most times it does end up being the cable's fault or a fault with the site, as that's the reason why you're not getting any power. But through using this, you can then figure that out. And as I say, that's just located underneath the oven and grill, which is just here in the kitchen. Coming through, you'll notice you've got a bit more storage next to that, along with some flip out worktop with your sink, and then a large cupboard drawer here used for storage. Now up at the top here, you'll notice that you have got some valves here. They're just isolation valves. Don't touch them, leave them as they are. They are just for our workshop technicians when they are working on your vehicle. Everything you need to know can be controlled on that panel as I've shown you. Coming around now, you'll notice that you've got your fridge on this side along with a cupboard up here. Now with this vehicle, as you can see, there's been a TV fitted, and you can see where we've fitted the aerial. To operate your aerial, all you need to do is firstly switch it on. So as you can see at the moment it is on. You have got a little switch at the top of here which you need to flick on when you're activating it. Click that on, and as you can see you'll get a green, yellow or red light. That red light, yellow light or green light will indicate how good your signal is. At the moment it's green, so it indicates that it's a good signal. Now to operate this, all you need to do is unscrew this here, push up the pole, and then underneath you'll notice that you've got a little arm. That'll allow you to twist and alter the head of the aerial depending on how much signal you can get, just to increase and intensify that signal. So if you are struggling for it, you can do that. Obviously you need to make sure that that's always down when travelling off site, so do be mindful of that, but that gives you just a little bit more to get that signal better. Now at the moment, because it's green, you won't need to do that, but as I say, if you are struggling for signal, you can simply push that up and improve that. Now coming on to your fridge, as I mentioned outside, your fridge isn't like a domestic fridge that you get at home. It's obviously not as powerful. So your fridges in your motorhomes do a very good job at maintaining temperature, but not the best job at getting the vehicle down to temperature. So do bear that in mind. So if you want cool things to be in the fridge, put cool things in. And if you want frozen things to be in the freezer, put frozen things in. Opening this up, you'll notice that you've got your freezer up at the top and then your fridge, which is just below. Connected in, up at the top, you can then lock it into place like so. Now to operate your fridge, it's very simple. Simply hold this button here and that will activate everything. I'll just quickly turn that off now because I don't want it using anything. But to sort you through your options, firstly you've got an error code here, or an error symbol, which will allow you to reset the fridge if you ever get an error, which I'll explain in a minute. Next to that, you've got your 3 ways of fueling the system. First, you've got your 12 volt leisure battery. You've then got your gas symbol for your gas, and then you've got your 230 volt symbol for when you're on site. You've then got an auto button. Now what I'd recommend is you select it on auto for it to automatically assign whatever fuel you have got, and that will stop you from getting error codes. Now your 12 volt leisure battery will be used when you are travelling. You've got a built-in alternator with this vehicle, which will power your leisure battery as you're travelling, which can then power the fridge. So you'll only use your 12 volt when you are travelling. A lot of people think that they can use a 12 volt leisure battery when they're wild camping to power the fridge. However, they can't, because if that was the case, it would just drain all the power out of the fridge, because it's so intense. So it'll only allow you to run the fridge off 12 volt when you are travelling. When you're wild camping, that's when you need to use your gas, which is next to that. And then, as I've mentioned, when you're on site, you'll be using your 230 volt. Now with your auto button, as again I've mentioned, selected on that, that'll automatically assign whichever fuel you've got. Now if you do knock it off the auto button and end up clicking a fuel that you've not got, similar to your Truma system, you will get an error code which you then need to reset. You can then notice that you've got options for your temperature. Now this is all touch sensitive, and all you need to do to flick through the options, if I turn this on, I'll just demonstrate that now. Click your mode, and as you can see, as I click that mode, that'll flick through the options, and then if I was to click your temperature, that'll give you the different options like so. To turn it off, simply hold, and as you can see, it's just turned off like that. Whilst I'm here, coming off the fridge now, you'll notice that this specific vehicle has been ordered with a water heater for your wastewater, which is external to the vehicle. All you need to do to turn that on, simply just flick that like that, and that'll heat that system. Now coming into the back, you'll notice your cassette toilet is here. As I mentioned on the outside, the cassette toilet, the main thing to know is that the blade on the toilet is closed, because you never want to remove that cassette with it open, because as I say, you will break that. So do bear that in mind. Your blade is just underneath here, and it's just this silver piece of plastic here. Push that blade across and that'll open the cassette. Pull the blade towards you, that'll close the cassette. So when it's in use, open the cassette, let all the waste drop into the cassette, and then simply click your blue button there, and that'll activate your flush. It'll then flush the system. Once you've done that, close your cassette. Always get into the habit of closing your cassette after use, because that'll make sure that there's no nasty odours that escape, and it'll also put you in practice for when you remove the cassette. You'll never run into that issue of it jamming. Coming back up to your flush here, one thing to mention, that the flush will only work when your pump is on, which when you're on site and all set up, it's going to be anyway. And then when this cassette does get full, you'll get a red light on here just to indicate that you need to empty it. Moving on from the cassette, you'll notice that you have got storage up here, which is your hanging space, and also a little bit underneath there. And you have also, again, got some storage in here, which gives you access onto the outside as well. Again, with a bit more hanging space there, depending on what you want to use it for. And that is fully heated and insulated as well. Coming across to the back, we've spoken about priming your system for your taps and also your shower. Just a reminder really. And also, you've got some more storage on the back and also underneath your sink. Moving forward, you'll then notice with this, you have got your drop-down bed. Your drop-down bed is dead easy to operate. All you need to do is you've got your little panel up here, put your key in and turn that to activate, click the button, and that'll allow the entire bed to drop. Now when dropping the bed, you firstly need to make sure that all the area is clear, and depending on what height you want it, you'll need to remove some cushions. If you want it at its lowest height, what you need to do is you need to remove these back cushions and also move the table into place in the middle, and then you can then drop the entire bed down. If you was having it halfway and you was connecting your ladders, all you need to do is just make sure, as shown here, that you can drop it to the point here. With that in place, you can then get your ladders hooked up to that and you can use it. With your bedding, keep all your bedding on. Just with your pillows, I recommend sticking them at the front there, and then you're good to go. Now as an option, you can order this and use this as a 4-berth. To operate that and to create it into a 4-berth, all you need to do is centralise the table, pop it up and then push it down, That'll then slot into this area and act as the base for the bed. You then need to use the back of the cushions to form that bed. I recommend using a mattress topper just to take the lumps out and the contours of the seats. Just take them away, just to allow for one even surface. As you can see, I've just demonstrated that for you. I've just dropped that for you. As I mentioned, it's just simply pull up, push down, and then you're into position and it'll act as the base. With each of your seats as well, these do fully swivel, as you can see, which are just located at the side of the seat with a little lever which will allow them to lock and dislock. Before finishing up, it's also worth noting that you have got some floor storage here. Throughout the Lyseo range you have got a double height floor, which has been used here for a little bit of storage, as you can see, which is again fully heated and insulated for you. Now that concludes the handover video on the Burstner Lyseo 590. I hope you enjoyed.